What's up YouTube, Honeybee here, bringing you a new Mortal Kombat 11 video, and in this video we are going to be going over the Matoka Warrior variation of Nightwolf. This is his variation 1 for his tournament variations, and we're just going to do a quick breakdown of this kind of strategy guide that you'd kind of come to expect if you're fighting a Nightwolf or if you're fighting as Nightwolf, what you're going to be looking for, and then at the end of the video we're going to go over some basic combos so that you guys can get started and get into games with Nightwolf. So first thing that we're going to do is look at some of his important pokes and frames. I did make a video talking about some of this previously, so I'm not going to go too in depth on it. I'm just going to kind of go over the main things. So down 1, 7 frame, down 1, it's pretty good. -4 on block, and it has some pretty good range on it. It's also +10 on hit, so you can do this and you can actually jail into some of his attacks, like his 1-1 afterwards. You can also use his down 3, which is a very good down 3. Kind of reminds me of Noob Saibot's down 3. It's a 8 frame startup, and it's -6 on block, and it has 13 frames of hit advantage, which is really strong. You can hit your opponent all the way from like out here, which is pretty good, and then you can follow up with one of his other attacks. He has a 13 frame mid, which is his forward 1. Now this is a really strong mid because it's a forward advancing mid that's safe on block. If you look at his full string, forward 1-2, it's -7 on block, so it can only be punished by a 6 frame down 1, which basically isn't anything to really worry about. If you do complete the full string, it's punishable, so I would suggest not even using the full string. But forward 1-2 is quite strong because if you hit someone with a down 3, they can't do anything except block. With the follow-up, you can just use this in the mid-range anyways, since it's a pretty good ranged mid-attack. You can hit confirm its forward 1-2 into a full combo. Something like that would be 26.6%, essentially 27% for confirming your hits off of the forward 1-2. So that's a very strong move. Something to take note of that's really important for Nightwolf is his forward 2 string. The forward 2 is a 24 frame overhead, so it's kind of slow. It will be reactable, so the opponent should be able to on reaction block, but you're definitely going to open people up with this regardless, because no one's going to block this every single time. On its own, it is punishable, -19, but there's a couple different variations of it that you can use. Forward 2-1 looks like this, and that's a -9 attack. Forward 2-1, 2-1, which looks like that, is a little bit of a longer string, does some decent damage, and it's -14 on block. Forward 2-1-4, however, if I just put the opponent to block, we'll see that forward 2-1-4 is a safe move. What's really great about this move though is that on block you can use it, and you can block confirm that essentially into the forward 2-1-4 string, at which point you're going to be -6. If you hit the opponent, however, you can full combo. You can confirm this into a full combo. You can do forward 2-1 into the launcher. We'll talk more about that later, but you can also do forward 2-1, and this string forward 2-1-2-1, it's you have to complete the last 2 buttons, the 2-1 at the end, for it to come out. But you can actually special cancel this string if you special cancel it before the last hit comes out. If you wait until the both hit comes out, then it's not going to special cancel anymore. So you can do the string, and then on that 3rd hit, you can actually special cancel for more damage, and we'll go over that later. Another string that Nightwolf has is his back 3-4. This string is pretty useful. As you can see, it's a mid-low. It starts off with an 11 frame mid, but the range is not very good on this attack. But it is a low afterwards, so sometimes you could trip people up with that, kind of catch them off guard. If you finish the string, it's -7 on block, so you can also confirm that if it were to hit, you can go into a full combo using your amplified down forward 2. If it's blocked, you can end the string with the down 4, and you can be safe. Now, Nightwolf has quite a few other strings. We're not going to go over all of them because I haven't played that much of Nightwolf myself, but I don't know if all of these strings are that useful. Some of his useful strings, though, are going to be his 1-1-1. This is just going to be his main Punisher tool for anything that your opponent does that's negative on block. It's a 7-frame startup jab. It is a high attack. If you are going to punish your opponent with the standing 1, you can get a full combo by just using your down forward 2. You can spend 1 bar, spend 4 bars, however you feel, and yeah, you can get your opponent pretty far into the corner. That's going to be something else we're going to talk about, is just Nightwolf has very, very strong corner carry when it comes to his combos. As you can see, we are mid-screen right now, and if I were to do a combo that uses 2 bars, we're actually going to be already in the corner by the end of this, and he's going to deal about 39% for these 2 bars. So that's a very important thing about Nightwolf, is that his corner carry is very strong, and his corner game itself is also very strong, because when you get the opponent to the corner, they're going to have to deal with quite a few different mix-ups, quite a few different options that Nightwolf has. Now he has his overhead, and as you can see, you can, as I was saying before, the overhead, you can hit confirm this, or block confirm this. On hit, you can go into a full combo. On block, you can make yourself safe. He has 1-1, which is a really good string. The first hit could look like a throw, and can bait your opponent to try to throw you, at which point they'll get hit by the second part, and then you can confirm this into a full combo. Obviously, you can throw them as well. That's going to be something that they're going to have to look out for. Nightwolf also has his back 3-4, which is a mid-low attack that you could also use to potentially mix up your opponent. When you're adding in the forward 2, and you're adding in the 1-1, and you're adding in the throws, he has quite a few different ways of keeping that pressure on and making you a little bit scared to do anything in the corner. His down 2 will prevent jump outs pretty well, so he has some pretty good corner control. Another thing to make note of is that he gets very, very good damage in the corner meterlessly by just using his down forward 2, but you can actually follow up without amplifying it. As you can see, the down 1 will connect, and you could do something like down 1, and then 1-1-1 into back forward 4 as an ender, and you can get some really good meterless damage in the corner. For example, that's 31% meterless damage off of a overhead that you could make safe on block, or you can confirm this into a full combo on hit. Now you can get more damage if you do spend a bar. You can also, sometimes people will find that hitting this down 1 after is a little bit tricky, because you have to be a little bit you have to be pretty on point to hit that. You can always spend the bar if you don't want to go for the harder combo, and you can do something like this. And that's an easy 34% for 1 bar. If you do want to go for the harder version of the combo, it's going to look something like this. And that's going to grant you about 39% damage for 1 bar in the corner. The next thing I'm going to cover is Nightwolf's throws. Now, if you do Nightwolf's back throw, you'll see that he sends the opponent pretty far away from him, so he can't really continue pressure off of it. But if you do a forward throw with Nightwolf, he keeps them really close to them, so essentially he can throw loop. He's one of the characters that has a really good throw loop, and he can actually mix in both just continuously throwing you, or he can also go in for like his 1-1-1 auto shimmy. He can open you up with an overhead or anything like that. So his forward throw is actually a pretty powerful tool. The fact that he keeps the opponent right next to them so that he can continue staying on them, continue pressuring, throwing, doing anything. It's a very strong tool. Now, something else to quickly go over is he does have a pretty strong zoning and counter zoning game when it comes to both his bow and his reflect. Now, his bow, he can shoot it, and if he amplifies it, normally it's a high. If he amplifies it though, it's a mid-high afterwards, so you can force your opponent to at least block for those hits. His parry is very good for any kind of zoning. As you can see here, if Devora is to shoot a projectile, He'll just go back at her, which is pretty strong. He also can, with his bow, he can hold it, which is really nice. He can hold it for a pretty long time, and he can also cancel it with a bar of defensive meters. So yeah, Nightwolf's bow and arrow can be used for zoning, and it can also use his reflect for counter zoning, which can be pretty good and force opponents to come into the neutral game against Nightwolf, at which point you're going to want to be coming in with your forward advancing mid. You're going to stop them from coming in by using your down 3, and then on hit, then you can follow up for damage, and then you can also get them with your overheads from time to time. He also has Spirit of Kiba, which is a really good buff move. It gives him additional damage whenever he uses it, but not only that, he does actually get a hit of armor when he amplifies. So for example, Devora is set to wake up with her up 3 attack, so what I can do is I can end a combo, for example, with this. I'll take that hit from the wake up attack, and then I can punish her for a full combo. This is going to be very useful in the corner. You can do certain situations that set up your buff, and if your opponent were to wake up, you're going to absorb that hit of armor, and then you can actually punish them with a full combo afterwards. So it'll look something like this. And just like that, with a setup like that, you spent 2 bars and you've taken about 72, 73% of your opponent's life. So that's pretty significant. It's a really nice thing that Nightwolf has going for him, using the Amplified Spirit of Kiba to not only give him a damage boost, but also absorb at that hit of armor that could potentially blow up potential wake up attacks. The last move to cover is Nightwolf's back forward 4, which is his Rhino charge. It's a really good attack. It has really good range on it. It's a mid attack, and it's fast. It's 12 frames. Now it is punishable on block, but there is 2 different things that you can do with it. You can either let it rock as it is, or you can amplify it. Both options are punishable, but it'll make it a little bit more tricky sometimes for your opponent to maybe punish the first part if they're waiting for you to delay, if they're waiting for you to amplify it, because then maybe they're going to wait a little bit longer, so maybe you'll get away with it, but it's not something that you're going to want to be throwing out too crazy just in case you do get punished for it. So let's take a look at Nightwolf's Crushing Blows, now that we've looked over his moves and specials and what some of his combos are going to potentially look like. He has a forward throw and a back throw Crushing Blow, which is always nice to have. It triggers if the opponent failed throw escape during the previous throw. He has a down 2 Crushing Blow, which is universal for all characters. He also has a couple other Crushing Blows. He has a Crushing Blow off of his 3-1-2 string, which looks like this. 3-1. These are 2 high attacks, and then the final hit comes from overhead. If you hit it with just the final hit, then it'll Crushing Blow. Now this Crushing Blow will pop up, and it'll lead into a full combo potential that you could get. So you could do something like this. You can get basically 30% meterless for a combo such as that. He also has another Crushing Blow off of his Rhino charge. Amplify triggers when only the amplified version hits a grounded opponent. So essentially you have to hit them with just the amplified version of that. The opponent will be in a stun state, at which point you can follow up, use your back 2 for a meterless launcher, and you can actually get a pretty good meterless combo. Now that we have a general understanding of how Nightwolf is meant to be played, what are the things to look out for with him, and how you're going to want to play the character, let's take a look at some combos with combo notations. Just to note though, a lot of his stuff can be interchangeable when it comes to starting combos with either forward 2-1, starting a combo with a forward 1-2, 1-1-1. There's a bunch of different ways to start the combo, but once it's started, it's generally going to have that same type of combo path. So with that said, let's take a look at a couple combos, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys.